Hello there, and welcome back to War Thunder. So today we have a very interesting ship, and it is the new Japanese premium rank 2 hydrofoil with battle rating 3.3. It is the PGO2. Now the first issue that I want to show you is that many maps are not really overworked for hydrofoils, and you get stuck with hydrofoils in the shallow areas, which are surprisingly and funnily enough not there to protect the PT boats from destroyers, but rather to just screw over hydrofoils, I guess. And yeah, then you have a timer, 2 minutes, and after that you just die. And if you then leave the battle, you get a crew log for it. So amazing, right? But it is not as amazing as its weapon, and that is a single Gatling gun. And it's the only weapon that this ship has. So there is no backup 20mm normal magazine fed weapon, whatever. And in this battle that I want to play from the very start to the very end, I just want to talk about certain thoughts of mine that I had with this. So usually I'm right there and I'm telling you my honest thoughts about certain planes, ships, tanks in certain ways, either a complete review or a first impressions or just having some good gameplay and trying to find out how you should play this thing. Not so much with this thing, because it would result in a massive, and I mean massive, rant about Gaijin's greed and or either incompetence. And I would be right with this, but I would just show you how this thing would flood the matchmaker, how it ruins battles, etc, etc. And then we'll talk about the meta, whatever. And I would be complaining rat all over again. But the simple fact is, the more that I complain about a vehicle, and despite being absolutely 100% right about it, two things would happen. First, and this is not so drastic, people would say, well, I'm just a complainer, I'm just a whiny bitch and whatever, and I'm a Nazi in the first place. You know, it's the internet. And some people would say, well, just don't listen to those people. Well, you're right about this. But what I want to tell you here is the bigger picture. The more I complain, the more people watch my videos and see, oh look, he's complaining about an overpowered vehicle. Quickly, get it before it gets nerfed. And so, again, more people would buy those things and just Gaijin would profit from it, right? So Gaijin would get more money, there are more of those things in the matchmaker, in the queue, and that's not what I want to see. I have to admit, it is a really great grinder, and there are so many things really great about the ship. It's a hydrofoil. It is one of the fastest things in the game. It's not as crazy fast as the VS10, frankly, but you know, its top speed is fast enough. Then there is the minigun, and that is just amazing in its damage output, especially with the APDS shells. Yes, it fires APDS. That is crazy. It is really crazy. And you could see how I'm just circling around the battlefield and just pulverizing here the enemy. The rate of fire, 3,000 rounds per minute. And you have 3,000 rounds in total. So in 1 minute you can run out of ammunition. And the amount of damage that you can do in that time, the amount of kills you can achieve, is just absolutely crazy. And again, the ship is fast, so it kind of avoids some of the drawbacks that the MPK Project 186 MK85 has, or in the SF40 Leichte, because those things are at least somewhat slow, so you can in theory circle around. Not with this one. And it's not just that there is one of those things floating around. No. It's entire teams. You know, it's not me spreading here the word. It already has spread that this thing is frankly pay to win, overpowered, or whatever. So everybody got this thing, and it's just this thing versus itself complete matches full of this thing. So you can imagine how much fun you have and how much diversity you have. And you can imagine that a 20mm Gatling versus 2.3 ships that this thing can and does meet, what it can do to them. They cannot even swing their bloody guns around, and they're just absolutely shredded. Okay, that is part one. What are the negative sides about this ship? Well, as I said, the very first thing is that you can get stuck with it, especially on the Fiji map. There is the danger, if you're spawning from the southern side, that you get stuck at spawn because you spawn in the shallow water. And there is nothing that you can do. Your match is ruined from the very start. There is nothing that you can do. Then there is also the overheat of the 20mm. You can fire approximately 6-7 seconds, and then you get caught in the overheat. Now, if you stop firing quickly enough, the cooldown is very quick, except if you then overtick, and then you kind of get into this reload cycle, and it's 21-22 seconds, something like this. And then the next thing is, again, you have 3,000 rounds. You can run out of them with 1 minute firing time. So that means you need to go into the cap, and then you need to stay there for 6 or 7 minutes before the belt gets back, before you get back the ammunition. And then again you have to spend the 21-22 seconds to actually reload. We will see this in this battle. We will see this in this battle, trust me. And the next thing is then the aiming mode, because you're not adjusting the distance via the mouse wheel or whatever kind of key you have set it to. And it is automatic. It is automatic, so you cannot control it. That means if you go into one direction and the enemy is coming your direction, you just can't shoot him. You're just completely shooting over the enemy, and that is just absolutely disgusting. That's just how it is. So you already can see where this is going. There are good and bad sides about this, but it is not balanced in any way, shape or form, because the good sides are so overwhelming in the initial states of the game that many people just frankly leave and just don't play against this. So you have only the ones left having this ship, amplifying the problem. And again, at this battle rating, this thing is kind of unchallenged. I think only some of the Russian Royal Patrol boats, when at range, when angled, then they can deal with this thing. But everything else just gets shredded so quickly. Who has thought about this idea being good, of releasing a Gatling equipped hydrofoil at battle rating 3.3? This is battle rating 4.0 stuff. I'm not kidding. At least. I mean, we already have a lot of balance issues in the game. We already have kind of more compression in naval forces than we have in tanks or planes. You know, you look at the time when the Target 2 had to face the T-10Ms, and then you look at this and think to yourself, well, it's not so bad after all. It is crazy. And I'm not going into this rant. I'm not doing Gaijin the favor. And I had so many hopes for this patch, you know, because the patch notes were amazing. I played some of the heavy cruisers already, and they feel satisfying, but they feel not completely overwhelmingly awesome, overpowered. And this is what I think is the right direction to go, right? But this one, it ruins the battle ratings from 2.3 onwards for everybody else. If you're a free-to-play player, you're completely screwed. So we began our reload at timestamp 2045 in the game. And you can see how slow it is, how slow we are reloading. And then your only weapon that is left is the artillery strike. You cannot really rely on this. So this is now 1.5 minutes later. This is 1.5 minutes later. That is just crazy. So to play against this thing is frustrating. To play with it can be frustrating, and it is all about RNG. Yeah, that's what it is. When you look at the damage output, regardless of the belts that you use, it is completely random at times. And this is something that I absolutely despise. And that is before we talk about then also the damage model of the ship. It's not enough to completely wreck the hull, to destroy all 3 sections of the hull. No, you also have to really destroy the bridge, and then you can count it as being destroyed. And so here we have, with the Survivor Award, 45,500 silver lions and 10,000 vehicle research points, and we get a nice Avenger award on top of this. So this is the perfect showcase of a broken and frustrating to play with and play against vehicle. Well done, Gaijin. That's all that I have time for. We'll see each other on the waves of War Thunder.